So good evening, everyone. Again, nice to be back. And thank you for coming and joining today evening's talk. And normally, again, I always like to start with a short motivations, so that even you don't learn anything, your time will be not wasted. Your time will be made it beneficial by your good intention motivation. So, and of course, in Buddhism, especially in Mahayana Buddhism, intention is the most important. Sometimes they say intention more important than actions. Whether your actions is virtuous or not virtuous, it depends on the intention more than the action itself. The action might be same, but depending on your intention, it can be virtuous, it can be non-virtuous, it can be neutral. And so something which is virtuous, non-virtuous, neutral is not in the action itself, is in the intention that drive you to engage in that actions. And so therefore, the intention is to have the right intentions in anything that we do, everything we do, anything we do is important. Not only the action to be compassion, but to be able to engage in that action with the right state of mind, compassion mind. So in that being the case, so we will start with the intentions. And to start with the intention, sometimes it's good to quiet your mind. If your mind is not settled, quiet, then even you try to have good intentions, your mind is too distracted, too busy, you cannot really feel the good intentions. So the first is to settle and quiet your mind. And once your mind is quiet and settled, then on the basis of that, you try to generate a good intention motivate. And that is important whenever we do any practice, meditations, anything, to start with that. So we'll also, that's how I like to start normally. Okay? So keep yourself in a right position, posture. And let your breath flow naturally. And keep your attention at the breath, observing it mindfully and being aware of what you observe in relation to the breath. Once your mind has settled down, then we can try to reflect, contemplate that as long as our mind is not free from those disturbing negative emotions, such as greediness, anger, ignorance, jealousy, so forth, we will always find something to complain about, something to be unhappy about. Something to be dissatisfied. No matter what the external conditions. You change the external conditions, but still your mind is not totally happy. Still something disturbing you. And you change that situation, that external factors, again, something bother you again. If not that, something else. Always something that disturb our mind. Even when you have the best external condition, still your mind is not peaceful, happy. And always something bother you. On the other hand, when we do not have those disturbing emotions such as greediness, anger, ignorance, jealousy, and so forth, or if you have less of them, and even when the conditions, external conditions are not the best, even when one is facing difficult external conditions, still one will be able to find more calmness, more peacefulness, more joy, more happiness. Those external conditions doesn't disturb and affect your mind negatively so much. Despite all the external challenges, still one can find certain level of peace calmness, happiness in your life. So what it shows is whether we end up becoming miserable or happy. It primarily depends on our state of mind. Not the external conditions. If your mind is miserable, even with the best conditions, you can feel miserable, unhappy. On the other hand, when there's peace and happiness in your mind, even when the external conditions are challenging, not easy, difficult, you can still find joy and happiness. That being the case, it's so important to work with our own mind. Trying to reduce and eliminate those disturbing negative emotions as much as possible. Trying to cultivate and increase those healthy, positive state of mind, such as true love, compassion, patient mind, wisdom, and so forth. To be able to do that, we need to reflect, contemplate, meditate, practice correctly, continuously. And for that, we need to be reminded of those practice all the time by listening, by studying. Therefore, I'm going to listen to the talk. And not only listen, trying to implement as much as possible if we find anything helpful, beneficial. So then, motivational inspiration, prayers of bodhicitta, execution bodhicitta. Sangye Chodam Soje Sonam Na Janju Badu Dani Kapsuchi Taki Jin Soki Pe Sonam Ki Prola Penche Sangye Jobai Sho Sangye Chodam Soki Chodam Na Janju Badu Dani Kapsuchi Taki Jin Soki Pe Sonam Ki Prola Penche Sangye Jobai Sho Sangye Chodam Soki Chodam Na Janju Parudani Kapsuchi, Dagi Jinsuki Pesonam Ki, Dola Penche Sange Dopashu. So today's topic, I think probably it's when I'm looking here, I think you all had study, learn about all this. I don't think there is anything new, for having studied the Dharma for so long. Um, so the topic as the happiness is within the mind. Of course, the term happiness is something we often use all the times in all different philosophy, spiritual path, secular, and sometimes different cultures, different philosophies, different spiritual path might have different ideas or definition of what the happiness is, or even secular world, how you define the happiness might not be as simple. But of course, today we are going to talk more from the Buddhist perspective. Mm, mm. I guess, probably is in most of the constitutions of the world, but for sure in, American Constitution, it's the life, liberty, and pursuit of the happiness that is supposed to be in the Constitution itself. The pursuit of the happiness, the right of happiness for all citizens, the right to be happy. From Buddhist point of view, it's not only the right to be happy, the right to have happiness for only the citizens, but it's the right of all humankind. It's the right of all the animals. It's the right of all sentient beings. Every sentient being has a right to be happy and not to suffer. On the basis of that, individually, they're trying to pursue that happiness, through different means, different, hmm? And it is that, every sentient beings have this innate wish to be happy and not to suffer, on the basis of that, then everyone has right to be happy and not to suffer because of that innate wish to be happy. So when we talk about happiness from Buddhist point of view, it's not just about, pleasures, sensory pleasures, which are fleeting, which are very fleeting, which are very much dependent on external condition and factors. As long as you have chocolates, you have the pleasure. When chocolate runs out, the pleasures run out. It's very much depend on that. The pleasure that you get from, in a sunny day, nice day, to be in the beach is very depending on the condition, the beach, sunny days. If that changes, you don't have the same pleasure. That kind of pleasure, sensory pleasure, not the true happiness that we're talking about from Buddhist point of view. Because they are very fleeting and they are very much dependent on external things, conditions that are transitory. And because the object that you rely on to have that kind of pleasure is transitory, so the pleasure that you get from that is also very transitory, But a lot of time, we think that is the happiness. And so we believe that is happiness, and then we try to pursue that, in order to have those pleasures. Then we try to accumulate or get things that give you those pleasures. And to be a lot of time to be disappointed. To some extent, we understand from another point, we keep on doing that. Keep hoping that it will give you happiness and joy, and then to find out it is unable to give you real joy and happiness, and get disappointed time to time. And that is what we have been finding time and again. And it's interesting, how we keep on repeating same things with a hope maybe next one is a different result. Isn't it? We have already done most of those things, and we're disappointed a lot of times. Sometimes it was not nice experience, but still we keep on doing and hope this time is something else. The result will be something else. And to find out it was the more or less same result. And I guess because maybe we haven't really understood what the true happiness. So from Buddhist point of view, the true happiness is a mental state, not a sensory pleasures. It's a mental state. True lasting happiness is when, there's no more those disturbing negative emotion to disturb your mental state. And when there is no more negative emotion to disturb your mental state, then you have true happiness, lasting happiness. Nothing disturb you. It can be raining, it can be sunny, it can be cloudy, it can be snowy. It doesn't matter. It doesn't disturb your mental peace. It doesn't disturb. Of course, physically you can have discomfort, sudden discomfort here and there. If you have to walk or if you get wet, all of that. But even though there's some physical discomfort, but in terms of mental state, you are still calm, peaceful, happy, joyful, and not disturbed by that. And it could be same with everything, you know. The food might not be best. It might not taste well. It might not, something missing, maybe, not enough flavor, maybe not enough spicy, maybe not enough salty, sweet, whatever those things. So your taste might not be not the best taste, but that doesn't disturb your mind. Okay, you know. And that is because there is no disturbing negative emotion to disturb your mental state. And so even in that cases, you can still find calm, peace, happiness, joy in your mind. And that kind of happiness is lasting, not fleeting like those temporary, transitory pleasures. And once you have access to that happiness, then you have access to that happiness all the time because you have access to your mind all the time. You don't have to depend on the external objects. It's not that when you have the good weather, you are happy. And when you don't have good weather, you are not happy. When you have good food, you are happy. When you don't have good food, you are not happy. Regardless whether you have good food or not good food, whether you have good weather, not good weather, whether people like you, not like you, whether people praise you, whether people criticize you, it doesn't affect your mental state, disturb. And that is the happiness that the Buddha, encouraged us to develop, cultivate. And that is the true happiness. That's the thing that if we can achieve that happiness, then we can be happiness 24 hours, 7 days, a month, years, as long as you live. No external conditions. Regardless what happens with external conditions, it doesn't affect your happiness, your peace, mental happiness, mental peace. And on the other hand, as we just went through the motivations, if we don't have that kind of mental peace, joy, and happiness, then small changes in external conditions can make you up and down. One moment you are so excited, next moment you feel so down, low. One moment you feel like the life is wonderful, next moment you feel like life is hell, horrible, And so because that kind of happiness doesn't come from within. Within it is relying on the external conditions. It's coming from the external conditions. As long as there's that external conditions, then you have that feeling of pleasure, joy, whatever. But when that is gone, that is gone. And we cannot keep the external condition perfect. It's impossible. Because external conditions are by nature impermanent, ever-changing all the time. So something which is ever-changing, you cannot stop from not changing it. It's impossible. We cannot, the weathers, the nature of weathers is changing. And we cannot stop from changing it, And so therefore, yeah, but kind of the pleasure, the joy that we rely on at the moment, on external objects, external conditions, is not true happiness. It's not true happiness. True happiness is something that need to develop and that should come within, from within. And once you are able to develop the happiness that come from within, then those external conditions doesn't affect you and your happiness. If you have it, it's okay. If you don't have it, it's okay. And so that is the something that that is what the Buddha advised us. Instead of running after something, chasing and running after something that cannot give you true happiness, true peace. Instead, a lot of time, disappointment, that we should put more effort towards something that can give you true peace and happiness from within, that doesn't rely on external conditions, external factors, external objects. And as Buddha said, it's absolutely possible to develop and to find and to discover such happiness from within. It's not something impossible. It's something possible. It's possible because at the moment, we couldn't find that kind of happiness from within because our mind is very much disturbed by those different negative emotions, which arises on the basis of external changing external conditions or external factors, On the basis of that, so but this negative emotion that disturb our mental peace and lasting happiness are temporary. They can be overcome. They can be eliminated. They are not temporary. They are not in the true nature of our mind. The true nature of our mind is, luminous, pure, undiluted in its nature. Whereas those delusions that obscure the mind at the moment are just temporary. And as Buddha described, it's like the blue sky and the clouds. The true nature of our mind is blue, like a blue sky. And those disturbing negative emotions are like the temporary clouds that obscure that. Because they are temporary, they are not obscure in the nature of the mind itself, the cloud can be clear. Cloud can be clear, and you can see and experience the pure blue sky without any clouds. I think we have experienced and seen that kind of sky. The same is the nature of the mind. The ultimate nature is like a blue sky, not obscure in its nature, not diluted in its nature, not contaminated in its nature. Even though it is not diluted and contaminated its nature, but due to certain cause and conditions, temporary obscuration, clouds of those afflicted emotion arise, anger arises due to certain conditions. Those are temporary. Due to certain cause and condition, attachment arises. Due to certain cause and condition, ignorance arises, jealousy arises, fear arises, self-doubt arises, distrustful arises. All these different disturbing negative emotions arises due to certain cause and condition. They are temporary. It comes and goes. But they are not in the nature of our mind. Therefore, since they are not in the nature of the mind, therefore they can be clear. If we can clear all those disturbing negative emotions, when you are able to clear all these disturbing negative emotions, then that's when we are able to find true, lasting inner peace, joy, and happiness. Because now there's no more those disturbing negative emotions to agitate and disturb your mind. And therefore, as Buddha says, true happiness is possible to achieve. It's not something just a nice ideas, or philosophy, but in practical it is possible because of that. Buddha give different examples. Another example he give is, the water, the water being polluted by the mud, dirt. Is a muddy, that water is muddy, which has been polluted by the dirt and is muddy, but that mud can be clear because it's not in the nature of the water. That mud, that dirt is temporary. Therefore, you can clear it so that you can purify it and then to be able to use it, drink it. You are able to purify it because it's not in the nature. If it's in the nature, either you need to get rid of the whole water, or it will be no matter how much you try to purify it, it will still be dirty and muddy. But what it shows is that we can actually dirt with a polluted and muddy, it can be clean, purified, and then still use the water, and at the same time clear those dirt because it's not in the nature of the water. Same is the mind and those afflicted emotions. The afflicted emotions, those disturbing negative emotions are temporary like the dirt that polluted the true nature of your mind. But it's not polluted in its nature. They are temporary. Therefore, it can be just like the dirt, the mud can be cleared and purified. Also that those afflicted emotions can be purified and clear it. Another example, would I give a mirror with the dirt? Same thing. We can clear the dirt that's on the mirror. Because again, if it's in the nature, if it's dirt or polluted in the nature of the mirror, then no matter how much you try to clean it, you cannot clean it because it's in the nature of that. But because they are temporary, so therefore you can clear, and then you can see a clear mirror that can reflect, the object clearly. And same is the nature. So that is So therefore, the way to find true lasting happiness is to clear all these temporary obscurations of those defilements, those disturbing negative emotions from the nature of your mind. And when you are able to do that, then you find true lasting happiness from within. And it is not something that happiness that comes from outside. Do you get it? It's not like some kind of the pleasure you get from the chocolate that comes from outside. The chocolate itself. This kind of happiness is not something it comes from outside, it's something within. It's there when you are able to clear all these disturbing negative emotions. The true happiness is there. When there's no more those disturbing negative emotions to disturb, agitate your mind, that's where true happiness is. True inner peace, true inner happiness there. It's not something you try to chase and buy from somewhere. You have to discover from within. You discover from within, and you experience from within by clearing all these temporary obscurations. So that is the, um, but even before we find that lasting true happiness that's free from all these disturbing negative emotions, we can still, while we're on the path towards that, we can still find more happiness, more inner peace, more joy, and more peacefulness by working with our mind, by working with our mind. by learning to let it go, not to get attached to something with fleeting, temporary stories. Learning to not get attached to any of them. And if we learn how not to get attached to it and not grasping to them, then when the object changes, because the nature of the object is transitory, ever changing, impermanent, they will change, they will decay, they will disintegrate, they will be separated, but you don't experience the pain from that. You don't experience the pain from that because you lost something. Because something that you used to have disintegrated, decayed, no more there. Why? Because you don't have grasping and attached to that. You learn not to be attached and grasping to that. As long as you have that, you enjoy it. When it's gone, okay, it doesn't disturb your mind. You can just let it go. Okay, it's time for a change. It's impermanent. That's what it is. When you have that understanding, realization, impermanent nature, and through understanding that, we learn to let it go, not to get so grasping, holding to them. That's one of the key to find more inner peace, joy, happiness. Those who are able to do that, they find more inner peace, joy, happiness. If you cannot do that, then, when you lose something, you are so attached and grasping, then it becomes very miserable, very unhappy, devastating, could be devastating. So one of the method that Buddha taught how to find more peace, more inner peace, more joy, happiness, is by learning to let it go. By learning to let it go without grasping attachment. And how we do that? Learning not to be attached and grasping. One of them is by understanding the nature or reality of all these things are impermanent, ever changing. Since they are ever changing, not lasting, therefore, there's no point of grasping, clinging to them, which you cannot hold on that forever. Through that wisdom, understanding the impermanent nature of those conditioned phenomena. That is one way of one of the methods to find inner peace and joy. Another method that Buddha help or encourage or advise is, learning, to be mindful and observing whatever happens in your mind, whatever arises due to conditions, external, internal conditions. Sometimes fear could arise, sometimes worry, anxieties, sometimes, strong feeling of attachments, sadness, anger, resentments, jealousy. So those different emotions could arise due to changing the person condition, external, internal. But one of the method or technique is learn to observe them without any judgmental thought. Simply just learning to be aware of that and learning not to engage with them and then let it go. At the moment, those emotions arises because of different conditions. And then we get to engage with them, Too many chatting in our mind, and in that getting involved with all chatting, we engage with that feelings. And by engaging that, it gives the fuel for that feeling to last for a long time. And then we experience the pain, disturbance from those emotions for a long time. If we learn not to get engaged, instead, we just observe, be aware of that, but not engaging with that, then there comes and goes. It doesn't last. Because each moment of those feelings, emotions are always, even shorter than this moment by themselves. But then if that is the case, why do we feel that I've been having this resentment or this jealousy or whatever for days, weeks, months? Because we keep on giving the fuel for that to keep alive. It's like a spark of fire, and then we keep on adding more woods or more kerosene, and then it keep on alive. As long as we keep on wood and kerosene, it will last for days, weeks, months, a year. But if we learn not to give any fuel, then it is spark and then it's gone. One spark and it's gone. So then you don't have experienced so much pain for so long time. But at the moment, we don't have that tools, we don't do that, and then we get fuel to that feelings. by engaging and chatting with that, and then that is what. So that is another method or practice that Buddha teach or advise us, is to learn to be mindful of those different feeling, emotions, negative, positive, whatever, and being aware of them, mindful and aware of them, and observing them mindfully, but not learning not to get engaged with them. Practicing and learning not to get engaged with them. And if you don't engage with them, then it doesn't disturb you so much. It's all temporary. And by doing that, again, you are able to find more peace, joy, happiness, more calmness, because it's just like this and it's gone. Whereas at the moment, because we engage with them and we give continuity, so then it keeps bothering us for hours, sometimes for days, sometimes for weeks, sometimes for months, sometimes for years. Sometimes in some people, all their life, they cannot let it go. They hold on that for their whole life. And by holding that, they experience pain from that for all their life. So, that kind of practice, meditation, training the mind and learning how to be aware and observe, let it go without engaging in them. So that is another practice method that is taught, to find more inner peace, more inner happiness, more inner joy. Also, through such practice, we learn not to hold on the past, complaining about the past, mourning about the past, not even let go of what has happened in the past. When there's what happened in the past, nothing you can do about it, but still we hold on them. It's already gone. There is nothing we can do about what happened in the past. Whatever we experienced, that there's nothing we can learn from them. Apart from that, there's nothing we can change the situation, whatever happened. But not being able to let it go, holding on them. Or we are too weighted about the futures. Too much expectation, too much fear, worry about the futures when it's unknown. I can worry what I might happen when I am 80 years old, 90 years, 100. I might not live up to even 70, even 60, but I keep on worrying all of that. Even I live up to 80 and 90, probably nothing will happen what I'm worrying about, or fearful about. This is unknown. There's no guarantee what holds futures. But we are very, fearful, wary, or expectations. So our mind is kind of either caught up in the past or caught up in the future. We are never in the present. Always either thinking about something that has happened or thinking about what might happen in the future. Never in the present. And your mind is not in the present, you don't enjoy you don't appreciate and enjoy what is there in the moment, in the present. It's like we have human life, precious human life. We don't appreciate that, and we think, oh, I need to have precious human life future. We're worried whether I will have precious human life in the future or not. We're fearful whether I could get a future life or not. And we constantly dedicate or practice all our future, but not being able to appreciate what you already have now. And not even being able to appreciate what you have instead. hoping something which is not guaranteed in the future. And that's one example in every moment is like that. So in that, again, one of the practice training that Buddha gives is to learn to be in the moment in present and appreciate the moment in present. A lot of time, if we really check our mind, we are either focus on the past or futures, hardly in the moment. Hardly in the moment. And so, if we're in the moment, there are so many things that to be grateful and appreciative and to enjoy, and thereby to find more peace, more joy, more happiness. So that is another, method, learning and training, to let go of thought of past, future, but instead to be in present moment and to experience and enjoy what is there in the moment, in the present. Another practice method that Buddha advised and encouraged us to develop to find that kind of inner peace and joy is to cultivate true love, compassion. When we are able to develop true love, compassion, instead of jealousies of someone's success and someone's happiness, you feel happy for someone's success, someone's happiness. When you are able to do that, you find more peace, more joy, more happiness. On the other hand, when you are jealous of someone's success, someone's happiness, your mind is not in peace. Your mind is not calm, peaceful, joyful. Opposite of that, when you are able to feel joy and happiness, someone's success, someone's happiness, that's when your mind is not disturbed, instead peaceful, calm, happy. And when you have true happiness for someone, when you have true compassion for someone, you will feel that way. When someone doesn't agree with us, when someone is not nice to us, when someone doesn't like us, when someone is criticizing us, when someone's doing that, again, anger, bitter feelings arises. With that bitter and anger feelings, again, our mind is disturbed. There's no peace. There's no joy in that moment as long as we have those feelings. Opposite of that, when you have true loving kindness, compassion that person's, even the persons behave in that way, still you will not be so upset and angry. You might not agree with their behavior, their actions, and the attitude, but still it doesn't disturb your mind, access your mind. Like when your cat, dog, you teach them not to bark, when you are on the leash and when you use someone else or someone's dog, you don't want them to be aggressive. You don't want them to bark, chase. You teach them. So you train them. But sometimes, they start barking when they see another dog or someone else. But because you love that dog so much, while you don't agree with that barking and but still you don't get so upset and angry. You don't get so upset and angry. You would just try to be, it's okay, don't, it's fine, your mind is not disturbed and agitated, and you don't agree with that, isn't it? You don't agree with that kind of actions or behavior, and you train not to do that. But even when someone engaged in that, still because of your love, affections, okay, you can still love someone. You can still have the affections while you disagree with the actions, and sometimes taking actions to change that behavior and actions because it's not. So this is something also when someone has developed true love and compassion. That's what, you know, when they see someone's harmful behavior and actions, they don't agree with that, you know, they don't accept that because it's harmful. And sometimes they even take actions to stop such when it is needed from such action and behavior, but that doesn't stop them from having the compassion and love. And because of that love and compassion, true love and compassion, they are not upset and angry. And if you are not upset and angry, you don't have to experience the pain and the suffering due to that anger, that upsetness, that resentment. Later, that become resentments sometimes, you know, ill will feelings, all of that. Mm? And yet, you know, when you love someone truly, such as the pets, whether they are wagging their tail or not, you still love them, don't you? You don't stop loving them when they are not wagging their tail. Such is when someone has true love and compassion. Whether someone is nice to you or not, you still love them, compassion to them. You know, it doesn't matter whether they are nice to you or not, whether they like you or not, you know, you still love them. And therefore, when you see them, still you feel good about them. Just like, you know, each time you come home, and when you see your dog, you know, you feel nice to see them, happy to see them. So that is how, when one is able to develop true love and compassion, you know, it brings that kind of inner peace, joy, and happiness, regardless of how other people behave to you or behave to someone, you know, someone treat you or not treat you, how someone treat others or not treat you. It doesn't disturb your mind, basically. Doesn't mean you are okay with their such behavior and actions and attitude, you know. But whether you are okay or not, you agree, not agree, but in terms of your mind is not agitated and disturbed. And that's the key, you know. And therefore, when your mind is not disturbed and agitated by those disturbing negative emotions, then of course you have more peace, inner peace, more joy, and more happiness. So those are some of the keys to be more happy, you know. Those are the um, tools or practice meditation to give us more peace and more happiness. Basically, you know, learning not to be so attached and grasping. That's key. If you don't have grasping and attachments, you plant something, things doesn't go well, and you don't have to be so disappointed and so unhappy. You just adjust to the new what was happening. Not only able to adjust, you can appreciate from different perspectives. You learn to be appreciated from different perspectives by seeing something good, positive in something, even though it wasn't exactly how you plan or how you wish to have. But because if you don't have strong clinging and grasping, when change happens, things happens, you can adjust more easily without feeling so disappointed or unhappy. You can still see something good in that, something positive, something, and that also helps. Lojong practice, those are the Lojong practice. The mind training practice, Lojong practice is trying to see light in every darkness, learning to see light in every darkness, learning to see something positive in every difficult situations. And if we learn to do that, you can always find something positive. You can always find something good. And when you are able to see that goodness, that positive, something good, your mind doesn't become so negative, so unhappy, so disappointed. Because you see. So it is always, it is, yeah. I think, isn't there some, I don't know where it comes from, but the concept of this half full and half empty. What is that?
The cup half full.
Yeah. Where does it come? Is it based in some kind of philosophy, or is it just a general?
It's the same.
Optimists and pessimists. Yeah.
So similarly, that it doesn't change the reality whether you try to look at half full, no, half empty or half full.
Yeah.
It doesn't change the reality,
Yes.
but it changes your mindset. When you see, half full, you feel there's something. When you see half empty, it feels like there's something missing. And so there's a two different. When you feel something missing, then it's like there's not enough. And so there's more like a negative and unhappy. But when you think half full, it's more positive. Oh, at least I have something there. At least there's half. So it is uplifting, a little bit more uplifting, more feeling of gratitude, appreciated. And that is same in Lojong practice. It's all about learning to see every situation like a half full instead of looking at it as half empty. That is how you train your mind to see. And if you train your mind, so you will always find something positive in every situations, in every circumstances, in every experiences. And if you do that, then no matter what happens, there is something that keep you positive, uplifting, and more joyful and more happy. And so again, that is one of the things that we need to learn, train our mind to do that. And those, from those Lojong practices, different way of meditating on that, different way of contemplating, and different tools of those Lojong practices we learn, again, to keep our mind more positive, more, hopeful, positive, and more joyful, more peaceful, more happiness. And so that is okay. So I think maybe I will open few questions. If anyone has any questions.
Anybody have any questions?
Anyone? in persons or in online, please feel any questions you have. Yes, please.
About that half empty and half full. So where do you create, say, making something, when do you say it's okay that you want to make something better, for instance, and to recognize that maybe a situation, maybe it's okay, but it could be better. How do you, at what point do you still have full maybe, but better maybe might be good?
Yes, as long as we have as long as there's possibility of making it better, we try to make it better. But at the same time, mentally also being prepared. If things doesn't get better, is also fine. Okay. But it doesn't mean that it's okay, so therefore I wouldn't try to make it better. You always try to make it better if there is a possible. And if there's a way to make it better, we should start to make it. But at the same time, you are also mentally being fine or okay if things doesn't improve. All I can do is try to make it better. And even I cannot improve and make it better, still I'm okay and I'm happy with that too. So having that kind of mental approach, it doesn't mean I'm happy, so therefore I wouldn't try to make it better and improve it. You still try to improve it, but you are not so attached to that outcome, not grasping and attached to the outcome, and without that strong attachment and grasping the outcome, still you start for that outcome, but also being mentally prepared. Okay, if things doesn't go that way, and even it's hard, still being happy and being okay with that. Yeah. Any others?
Yeah.
Yes, Stefan?
I've been thinking a lot while you've been talking about building loving kindness and compassion in your heart for those that even say negative things or they don't like you. And it's not easy. And I was going to ask, how do you stop your ego taking over and allow, and if you can stop the ego taking over your behavior towards the person that's saying something nasty and that, so that you can bring out that compassion and you can cultivate that loving kindness, because the ego just loves to take over, and it's almost like an automated response to whoever's doing whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So how
Yes.
do you get the ego to stop?
I think we have to train in our practice medicine all the time, whenever when we feel something negative or something bad, recognizing it's my ego, it's because my ego, that's why I'm feeling uncomfortable. That's why I'm feeling hurtful. That's why I'm feeling angry. That's why I'm feeling, strong attachment, wanting more and more for me. That's so we try to learn that all the time. Even when someone is not unkind or but every day when something goes wrong, something doesn't feel right, always recognizing, learning to recognize, oh, is a display of the ego, is the result of that ego. Yeah. And so we learn that, and if we are, because of that kind of practice, familiarity, your mind get more happy anytime. Then instead, at the moment, every time something goes wrong, sometimes you feel hurt, sometimes you feel not right. Immediately, our immediate response is blame someone there, outside. That is the immediate kind of response, because we are so familiar with that. So we are so used to doing that. So in this practice, we try to change it. Instead of trying to blame outside, we say, oh, it's because that ego. That's why I'm feeling that way. So we do that all the time at training. And then even when someone is not kind or someone says bad and he says, and oh, I know why I'm feeling hurt because of my ego. You know, and so you don't blame them, but instead you see it's my ego. That's why I'm feeling. And so then if you don't blame them, you don't have to feel negative about them. And then you can feel compassion for them. You know, and then even appreciate it, you know, that they're helping me to recognize my ego. You know, I feel I didn't have ego. Now I notice I have ego. You know, sometimes we feel, oh, I don't feel I have the ego, you know, I'm such a you know, I'm not so bad person, so I'm egoless, or I don't have much issue with ego, you know, and we might feel, you know, maybe some people have issue with ego, but maybe I don't have. I don't need to deal so much with my ego. But then when that happens, then we notice, oh, I'm hurt.
Yeah.
I'm feeling hurt because that person's actions, because that person was disrespectful, because that person was not nice, because that person was saying something not nice or criticizing or whatever. And then you feel you're feeling hurt. Oh, I'm feeling hurt. Recognizing that. Oh, I'm feeling hurt because of my ego. Because of my ego. You know? And so therefore, even being appreciated, oh, thank you very much for pointing out that I still have ego and I still need to work on that. Helping me to recognize that.
Yeah.
Helping me to recognize and helping me to work with that. Now I see I need to work more on that because I recognize I still have that ego. That's why I'm feeling hurt. So in that way, then instead of being upset, someone can feel appreciative and grateful and feel compassionate.
Thank you. Yeah.
But of course, it wouldn't be easy to do that when someone is that if we are not training that every day, you know, we have to train
Yeah.
all the time, you know, remind ourselves all the time whenever something goes wrong, you know, something we feel something negative, bad, always say, oh, it's the ego playing the game here again, you know. Oh, now I see the ego. Now again, you are trying to play a game here, you know. You have been playing game all the time, and now I'm recognizing your game, you know. And so you train it all the time that way, and then eventually that becomes immediate kind of response, you know, that oh, it's the game of the ego. Or I'm feeling that way because of the ego. I'm feeling low. I'm feeling my low about myself because of the ego. You know, I'm feeling so proudful because of the ego. Or I'm feeling jealousy because of the ego. You know, I'm feeling hurt because of the ego. I'm feeling resentful because of the ego. So, you know, whenever we always recognizing and trying to feel that, oh, how the ego is involved and how it's playing the game, and that is why. And so reminding ourselves all the time and training in that, and then after some time, because you are so used to that, your mind, it becomes more natural, you know, without putting much effort. At the very beginning, we have to remind ourselves. We forget sometimes we remember, sometimes we forget, sometimes we remember, and we put effort to remember, you know, and then slowly, because, and then you don't have to remind yourself, you don't have to put effort, then immediately when something goes, you say, oh, it's the ego. And then we stop this blaming game with the others. And then if we stop blaming the others, then we don't have to be upset. And therefore, you know, they're not, when we're upset and stop the love and compassion arising for them of to feel to them. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. I can take one more questions. Yes, please. Yes, please.
Geshe, I was just wondering, you know, as Buddhists, we learn about impermanence and all these things. But when sometimes in our lives something big happens, so there's a very big disruption. So someone close to us dies, or some big change happens, and then at that time, all these emotions, very strong fear, lack of control, you know. And even though intellectually we've learned about impermanence and death and all these things, actually it's very destabilizing. So just wondering, then as you've been talking, I was thinking it seems like it's an opportunity if we can figure out a way of taking that opportunity, because at times like that, it all goes. That things we're holding on to, so many things go in those times. So, yeah, I was just kind of contemplating that it's an opportunity, even though it seems it's very difficult.
Yeah.
And you lose sight of the blue sky at that time, at those, and it can go, these things can affect you for a while. So I'm trying to figure out what question is. Well, how can we use these huge things in our life, I suppose, to really realize, to try and realize, instead of just, it's, you know, in my mind, I'm thinking, oh, I shouldn't be so, you know, shocked. I've been learning all these years about impermanence, but oh, now this huge thing's happened and I'm completely off kilter, feels like. Yeah, so my question is how to use those times as a chance to really realize impermanence, because it seems like those times are when you're feeling very sad or lose sight of the Buddha nature. But actually the other side of it, if you can see, it can actually be quite a chance to transform in some ways.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
You know, to see, you know, like we heard about these concepts of impermanent death and dying and all of that, but now it's really happening. And so it confirmed the teachings. Before it seemed like it's just an idea there, but now it's so real. And so then it can become an opportunity, because now you feel more trust in the Dharma. You know, before it looks like it's happening to someone, but not me. You know, it happened to other family, not necessarily me. So still there's a little bit of grasping of permanent in some way, you know. And now when it really struck us, then we feel it's so real.
It's like I thought, you know, I think I'm getting it through all these years, but then when it actually happens, be a big one, the hands, the grasping, no, it's all, no more grasp. It nothing to grasp onto.
So yeah.
Yeah.
So then again, as is like someone in some cases, then that is where in lojong practices, sometimes they say, just as I mentioned with the ego thing, you know, in our whole our practice, we try to learn to not to hold on and not to get attached and grasp on, and we struggle not to get attached. We struggle not to hold on, not to grasp. And now this situation make it that there's nothing to grab, nothing to hold. And then you see, you know, I'm so grateful this happened. It's helping my practice. This is whatever condition created that. I'm grateful because it's helping me to let go of the grasping. It's letting go of the attachments. And so again, you know, appreciating that instead of being very negative about it. It's just like about talking about ego things, you know, as someone being that, and then appreciating for pointing out that there is ego and I still need to work on that. Instead of being upset. And similarly, when those things happen, then being appreciative, you know, that is helping me to let go of attachment, is helping me to let go of grasping. you know, reminding ourselves of that and also helping. So again, by through being aware of that, again, we don't have to be so negative about that. Instead, being more appreciative and seeing more positive in that can be one way. And another things, as a practitioner, we have to be kind and compassionate ourselves. There are a lot of practice that we would like to reach there, but we are not there. We would like to be bodhisattvas, we are not there. And so we shouldn't be so harsh on you because you couldn't be bodhisattva. Pretend that we are bodhisattva and then you didn't do your job well. Recognizing we are still on the path, we are still not bodhisattva, and because we are not bodhisattva, we are still path. Even though we wish to be like bodhisattva, we are unable to be, and that's how that is the state we are, and you shouldn't be so harsh on oneself. Sometimes what I find, especially the Western students, I think they are very harsh on themselves. I'm a Buddhist, I'm not supposed to be angry, and I'm angry, and still after all that, I'm not a good practitioner, I'm not a good Buddhist. As a practitioner, I shouldn't be attached, I shouldn't be grasping, and I'm still attached, I'm still grasping. That means I must be bad practitioner, I'm not a good practitioner, I'm not a good person, and like that. So when we study, when we learn, we talk about, it's like the practice of the highly developed practitioners. When highly developed practitioners, what level they can reach and what kind of mind. But we are not there, we are here. We have to be aware and accepting we are here, and always shouldn't compare here and see I'm so bad because I'm not staying here. And I think that is one thing that we have to remind ourselves. I think especially I feel like Westerners, they seem to be more harsh on themselves by comparing to highly realized practitioner and bodhisattvas, and then compared to them, you are still nowhere there, and you inspired to be here, but at the same time, we're all inspired to be here and we practice, but at the same time, we are not there at the moment, and we have to acknowledge that, and we should be not too harsh on you because your practice compared to here is not there, that you're inspired to be there. And I think that is something, again, I think we have to be more gentle and kind of ourselves in that way. Otherwise, it can be obstacle to the practice, obstacle to the path. Then you think, I'm not good practitioner, I'm not good at. So what is the point of continuing the path? Even though we have some small progress, that we have made. So yeah, that's all I can say. Okay, so then we do the dedication. We dedicate, to cultivate the bodhicitta mind, loving kindness, compassion, bodhicitta mind, and wisdom within the mind stream, and with the mind stream of all sentient beings, and those who have already actualized, not to diminish, but increase more and more. Dāngzhō sēnchō rīmbō shē, mā kē ānā kē dōshī, dewa yāmbā mē āyāng, gōmbē gōngdō hewa. Sure. So we also dedicate all the virtues to actualize the fully awakened state and to help to liberate all sentient beings. Dewa di yodo da lama sangye byungyo ne dowa shikya manuwa de sala gumpa shivo. Ave rave koe shinkam de penda dewa malu dungwe ne chere senwa tinzin yasoe tabe site batu tenkyo. Thank you very much.